Hey guys, hope all is well. I'm continuing Mark's education. Look back at my previous video of the 10% rule it's not a fixed number, but I think like I talked about in the previous video, it's a good rule of thumb to see if you're really ready to play in the current market conditions. And now I want to talk a little bit more about the new home route. And I'm going to stick to the 10% rule on it. And it actually might be a little bit more. You know, a lot of people we've had literally hundreds of people since I've got my real estate license back in 2003. We opened GreatHomesATL in 2014. We're our own brokerage firm, just like you hear of Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker or Berkshire Hathaway. GreatHomesATL is its own brokerage firm. So we come from a very experienced, knowledgeable place. And this is why we're trying to do things differently than all those other brokerage firms out there and really give you the education that you need. Now, what's happening in the new home market is inventory is extremely high and inventory, is extremely low. Demand, meaning people looking to build a new home, is extremely high. And the price of labor and supplies is really high. So where does that end up? Where does that put you in this type of scenario? Number one, you know us. You followed us. You know our memes. You know our posts. You know our content. You have to be pre-approved. Whether that's through a preferred lender or your bank, your credit union, you have to be pre-approved so you know the price point you realistically can be looking at. And what's happening though for the new home communities are, because of all those factors, high prices of supplies and labor, a huge demand, people on waiting lists waiting for lots to get released, and low inventory, is a lot of builders it's just becoming more expensive for a buyer to even start the process to go under contract and secure a lot. Number one, because there's so much demand, a lot of waiting lists have developed throughout Greater Atlanta. I don't care if you're looking in Villa Rica, Dallas, Buckhead, Alpharetta, Smyrna, wherever the case may be, all throughout the Greater Atlanta area in particular. You're going to run into, you still sometimes can go into the model homes and look at different model homes, and you might fall in love with it. But guess what, guys? There might be 50, 75, 100, I've heard up to 175 people on the waiting list for a lot in that particular floor plan to get released. So what's happening is it's becoming somewhat of a lottery system, in the sense that it is somewhat of a crapshoot to land one of those lots. But the advice that I would give to you, because we get calls every day from on-site agents, builders, hey Mark, hey Kurt, about to have a lot release, let your clients know. So the most important thing you can do is have representation, people that have relationships with these lenders. Number two, any particular builder that you like in any particular community, you should probably kind of get it down to 2, 3, or 4 communities and actually go through the pre-approval process with each of those. So if it's builder A, builder B, builder C, builder D, put your name on the list for the particular floor plan in all 4 of those communities. But in order to do that, what they're requiring now is for you to get pre-approved through their preferred lender. Think about it, guys. The builder is the one that is fronting the cost to build your home. You could sit back and moan and whine, oh my God, I gotta save up 3 or 3.5% for my down payment. I gotta save for my closing costs. I gotta save for my upgrades, all these things. The builder is taking out loans in the hundreds of thousands to millions to build these homes, and doing all the paperwork with the counties, county inspections, supply issues. They're dealing with it all on the front lines, the front end. So they're going to expect you to be an extremely well qualified buyer. No hiccups, no houses to sell, no issues with like the amount of money you have in reserves. And they're going to want to verify that with people they can trust, which is their in-house or preferred lender. So you have to have those two things: representation with obviously GreatHomesATL, and go through the pre-approval process with each of those lenders. And you might say, again, well, I don't really want my credit hit, or I don't know if I want to do it that way. Again, you don't have to do anything, guys. We're trying to tell you the best position to put yourself in. Give yourself flexibility in, the communities that you want to live in and the floor plans, because timing is going to be an issue. So you have to be flexible. But if you do those two things, and Mark and Kurt, as your representatives, gets the heads up, it's not guaranteed again. But if you have all your ducks in a row, I've got my earnest money. And now what's happening too, guys, is, in the past, you might have been able to get away with earnest money being $1,000, some communities, $1,500, $2,500. There might be a few out there still with $2,500 on the lower end homes, but I'm seeing a lot of them now asking for $3,000, $5,000, 3%, 4%, and even up to 20. I have a couple people building with builders that is a $25,000 construction deposit. And I have a lot that are doing it with a 4% construction deposit. So you just take the numbers, guys, run it off of $400,000, $500,000, $800,000 houses, multiply that, at 4% or 5% or 3.5% or 20,000, whatever the case may be. You need a significant amount of money to even start the process. So if you don't even have that, it's not your time to go in the market for a new home. The good thing about it is, because you're fronting so much in your earnest money, that money is now sitting in your pot. That is like money that you've already had. It's sitting in a pot. You don't have to worry now like, oh my God, I now have to come up with hundreds or tens of thousands, I don't want to be dramatic, but tens of thousands of dollars, because I already put up tens of thousands of dollars. So now I'm gonna go to the next stage. I'm gonna do the design center, or pick out my cabinet colors and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll just enjoy watching the house be built. But before we get to that, because I don't want to skip a step, what also is happening is, okay, Mark, Kurt, I have those two things. I have the pre-approval, I have my earnest money, I have gone through the preferred lender, and now let me go just pick out my lot. Again, because there's so many people on the waiting list, and because part two of that being that the cost of materials are going up. I've talked about this in previous video, guys. It might sound like a broken record, but it's a real life scenario. You guys notice it in the economy. They're talking about it all the time. Inflation, everything seems more expensive. I don't know if you've noticed, gas prices have started to creep up. Go into even a Walmart or Target, things that used to cost $1.50, they're starting to be $1.79, right? Things that are $2.50 are starting to become $2.99. Like, that's what's called inflation. It means that the price of goods and supplies have gone up because of economic conditions. That's no different. I did this example on a previous video. If last year, 8 months ago, it cost you $1 for a piece of wood, and now it costs you $10 for that same piece of wood, which is real life scenarios that are happening to builders. Guess what, guys? They have to price the house so that they're not losing money and they can still hit their profit margins. Those costs are now passed on, like they always have, down to the buyer. So a house that might have cost $250, $275 is now probably $350, $375. The good thing about it is, again, the interest rates are super low. The downside again is that you have to be patient and flexible, because what is happening is before, when you could just pick out the floor plan, pick out, I see 10 lots, I want to pick one of these. No, you've got to wait now to what's called stage 3 of construction, which means the home has gotten permitted, it's got approved by the county, they have put the plumbing where they need it to be, they've poured the foundation or the slab, and they have ordered the framing package, which is the wood framing of your house that you see go up, because houses are made of wood and nails. On the exterior, you might have brick or shake or hardy plank or vinyl, all these different kind of sidings, but a house is built out of wood, timber, and nails. So what they're doing is they're not releasing the lots until the framing package has been sent, and actually it starts going up. So they know their costs going in. They also can see now that because they started a little bit later as opposed to locking you in when it was just dirt, is they can see their supply chain. What does it look like for when windows are going to come in, countertops, showers, tile, all those type of stuff, so they can realistically build you this house in a reasonable time frame. So again, you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and now the house starts to get framed. You kind of see that, maybe you're driving by, but we're going to kind of most likely get the heads up like, hey, these are about to get framed. You might want to let your buyers know. And then what happens in a lot of these cases is it's totally a first come, first serve, which means you might get a phone call from an on-site agent. You might get an email from a corporate office saying, hey, let's just say Isabella floor plan has been released on lot 42, first come, first serve. You get that email and you have to literally respond within seconds or push a button to deposit your earnest money from, like, wiring it from your bank account or putting it on your debit card. That is the scenario. So if 50 people get that same email and you're not jumping on it, then that could, be you missing out. So that's why I always say give yourself multiple communities, multiple floor plan options, but you can't even get there unless you got the pre-approval through the preferred lender, you have your earnest money ready to go. And what I would say is still have that 10% rule. So whatever the dollar amount, 400,000 be 40,000, 50,000, 500,000 be 50,000. Doesn't mean you're going to have to spend all that 10% between your down payment, closing costs, earnest money, because typically a builder is going to give you some help, whether that's 2,500, 5,000, 7,500 towards your closing costs, maybe giving you some appliances, things like that will save you down the line. But it's a good rule of thumb, because the final thing I'm going to leave you with is some builders are now just speccing out the house, which means they're working with an interior designer, picking out upgrades and stuff like that. Some of them are allowing you to just pick out like cabinet colors or flooring, and some still do give you the design center experience. If you get a chance to do the design center experience or any kind of upgrades, again, I'm preparing you. It used to be maybe they give you an allowance, 10, 15,000, anything above that, you'd have to come out of pocket to go into your earnest money deposit. I would say now, anticipate in this market that you'd have to come up with 100%. So if you end up having to go to a design center and or get a chance to, and you put $15,000 worth of upgrades in your house, you do hardwoods everywhere, you do granite, quartz in the bathrooms, all that type of stuff, and you put $15,000 in it, they're going to want to collect that $15,000 up front. So you can see between your closing costs, your down payment, your earnest money, your upgrades, I would still stick with the 10% rule. I'm just trying to put you guys in the best position. Again, it's not to scare you. It's all about preparation. There are tons of people that are doing it the right way. You wouldn't see every day on these real estate pages and on our page, people closing if they didn't. So have hope, be disciplined, flexibility, and listen to this education. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.